Okay, this is the blue AR&R folder. The first sheet is the sheet that you need at the end when you go to hand this in at the end of your placement. You need to make sure that all the sections are filled out. So you've got the class info, personalised provision, summative assessment and formative assessment in each section. So this is your contents page for the blue folder. Each of the sections are labelled and they also need to have individual dividers, which SCITT provide you. The first divider is class info, so I've got a list here of the children in my class. Class set information sheet for the school. So that's all IEPs, any children you need to be concerned about, if they've got any additional needs. This is the pink class pupil profile information sheet. You need to make a list of all the children's names here. Just say what they like socially, if they're quiet, if they're chatty, bubbly, just so you know a little bit about their personalities. This folder will be shared with other students when you go on your second placement, depending on the school you go to. Groupings to avoid, any personal issues going on at home, medical, wearing glasses, or if they've got asthma, or anything you just need to be concerned about or need to keep an eye on. Okay, so these are the literacy groups. Some schools don't do groupings. My school didn't really do groupings, so I just did above average, average and below average for the children, just so I knew how I was targeting those children, and then the targets for those groups then. And that's just a spare class sheet list. Okay, so this is the Q5 personalised provision sheet. This is where you explain all about the behaviours of the children in the class. So if you've got any boundary testers, loud children, quiet children, EAL children, I've got chatterboxes as well, and just say how you cater for those children in each of the boxes. So, for example, I have one child who kept talking all the time during circle time and inputs. So we used to gently touch him on the shoulder, and I just wrote down there, gently touches him on the shoulder, just to remind him that he needs to be quiet during inputs. So this is a summative info divider. I didn't really need that one to be filled up because I'm early years. Then it's the literacy divider. Okay, in this one I set out a class seating plan, that's it. So just so I knew where everyone was seating. These changed all the time depending on how they were doing in their lessons. So I just labelled to say that this child moved. Then I've got their progress trackers, just to say where they were during the spring term. Then I've put in their literacy targets. So the 8 children that I was working with, I did if they were high ability, mid ability and low. And I just said what they're currently working on and what they're working towards. Then I was fortunate enough to go back to my same placement in spring 2, so I did the targets again. Okay, now this is the big sheet that you all need to be aware of. This is the literacy sheet, so every lesson you teach, you have to write up about your 8 children. Okay, so you have to write down the success criteria for the lessons and how those children got on in the lessons, and you give them a grade. Now Kate will give you a master sheet of this to tell you how the grades work. What you do, you add up the grades and then you divide it by the number of children to get an actual score at the bottom to show how they're progressing in each lesson. So that needs to be done for every single lesson you teach. These are just moderated work that I copied for the children of independent writers to show with the target sheets how they were progressing. So I did that for every child that I was working with, that's within this folder. Then in the summer term you get given this sheet. This sheet here is the spring term, and autumn term you'll be doing that sheet. And then in the summer term, they're very kind to you and they give you this little sheet to use. So I just skimmed across it and just wrote how they were all doing, so it's not so in depth. That's the curriculum just in the back there for you, just for any sort of support that you need with your subject knowledge. Then you've got the same for numeracy. So I've got my maths target at the front for the children. Then it's the assessment sheet to say how they're doing in the lessons. Like I said, it's for every lesson. And then any work that they've done is really good. I've put in here to show progress. Any work from observations that I've done with the children, which have been formally observed, I've put in here as well, just to document the progress of the children. Like I said, the same again now in summer term. You go on to instead of using this big folder, this big sheet, you end up going on to the smaller one. And then in the back, then you've got the national curriculum again. Okay, so then you've got the same for science. In science, I also did a table plan again, just to say where the children were seated, just so that anyone looking at the folder had a bit of an idea of the... Also then, just labelling and indicating how the children did the lesson, just similar to the English and the maths that I showed you before. And I've also got examples of work here as well, just to show the progress and it's documented. And this is the summer term sheet also. Same for ICT. Okay, and then this divider here is IEPs, ILPs and EBPs. So I've got all the information I need to know about the children in my class, so the SEN information for the children, and if anything starts changing, like you've got that front sheet at the front where you document any changes with the children on the Q5. This is quite similar, I just wrote it up in a bit more in depth. If anyone's coming to observe or look at the folder, they had this to hand, just to know why I'm doing certain things. We had children with a nystagmus, so I had to make enlarge things, just saying when it happened, how often she went for consultations, etc. Okay, I have got individual education plans here as well, just to hand, just to, so I'm aware of any targets that the children are working towards, just to make sure that the lessons I plan are catering towards those children. And then you've got back to the non-course subjects. So I've got a class plan again, table plan, and an assessment sheet. And I've got some work in here as well, just to show. So we've got history, RE, and we've got art as well in here. And they've all got assessment sheets for all that as well. In the back, this is the sheet that Kate gives you. It's the assessment sheet, so these are the grades, and then along the side here you can see she gives you an example of 0 for no understanding, 1 beginning to understand, 2 nearly there, and 3 achieved, and 4 is for exceeded, so they'll be your G&T pupils. And these are just all masters in the back then for you.